right, we are gonna hop in and get started here in just a minute. So, Charisse, if
Yeah,
you,
we're,
however
do we
long
want
you
to
want to
wait
wait.
maybe one more minute? It's
Mhm.
6:01. Let's give it one more minute and then we will jump in and get started. But I am, and I know Jody is, we are so grateful for you guys being here. I would just want to commend you for taking this time to invest in yourself. I have shared this multiple times and I'll probably share it again tonight about somebody that I worked with years ago who said they were so busy they didn't have time to write the to-do list. And to me, that is like saying, I'm so hungry, I'm not going to eat. It is the same concept, and what I love about you guys is you're taking this time to figure things out, to invest in yourself so that in the long run, you can gain more time, be more organized, and increase your productivity significantly, which in my world means we hit our goals faster. Instead of chasing the rabbits or going around the same hill a million times. So but I'm just going to go ahead and I'll introduce myself. Most of you know me, but I am Charisse Burton. I am the business strategy coach for females on the brighter side of 30. I have been in business, an entrepreneur for over 17 years. I have a degree in social work, and Jody and I started this program several months ago. And what happened was we found that we were both talking about and covering and addressing the same issues around focus with both sets of our clients. And, I've known Jody, we've known each other for even years prior. So we knew, that was just, an open door for us to get together, put our minds together and collaborate and bring both sides, like we talk about the fact that we are two sides of a coin, and we bring the strategy and the techniques and the mindset and all the things to get you where you need to be. And so what we love about this masterclass tonight is going to give you some tips. It's going to open the door and show you a little bit, a glimpse of what it is like to sharpen your focus, to increase your productivity. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad that you're here. I'm going to let Jody introduce herself, and then she will take off with our fun slides.
Okay, thank you so much, Charisse, and thank you so much, ladies, for being here. Hello, everyone who's here live, and also if you're here later on the replay, we're so excited that you are here with us. Like Charisse said, she and I founded this partnership around this topic of focus several months ago because we both had clients who were really having some challenges around their focus. And we were friends. We figured out that we were both talking about the same thing at about the same time. And we thought, how can we put those two sides of that coin, as Cherie says, together to really be able to take this message of how to sharpen your focus and really how to build that strength and resilience in your focus to more people. And so that is why we are here today. And so we are going to be sharing, like Cherie said, some visual aids. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some slides up for you today. Let's see. All right. Can everybody see that okay? Thumbs up. Pretty good. All right. So this is our Sharpen Your Focus free masterclass. So we're going to spend the better part of this hour together, really going over the high points of how to heighten your focus and multiply that productivity. So my name, by the way, again, is Jodie Solberg. I happen to be a mental wellness coach as well as a licensed and certified hypnotherapist. And so I personally work with women to help them to get through the blocks that they have to their success. So it could be healing past hurts. It could be overcoming limiting beliefs and working on their negative self-talk. It could be so many different things, but a big part of that is focus. right? It's learning how to focus. We as women, especially, have so many things, right? We're dealing with all the roles and all the things in our lives. And focus kept coming up again over and over and over. And so in this masterclass today, what Charisse and I are going to share with you is we're going to share with you the most common reasons why you lose focus. So really helping you to identify what is helping you and what is hurting you in terms of focus. And then how to eliminate those distractions, right? Protect yourself from that shiny object syndrome. I know that Charisse talks about having overcome this and having to deal with it all of the time. That bright, shiny object that's always coming up. It could be family or the fur babies, like Charisse mentioned earlier. It could be a notification. It could be just a laundry. You know, it doesn't have to be a pretty shiny object. It can be any shiny object. So we're going to teach you how to eliminate those distractions and really protect yourself from that syndrome. And then really what to do to heighten your focus and multiply your productivity. I work primarily with professional women. So even though my background is on the social and clinical psychology, more the therapy side, I've also been a business coach, and I've also been in business myself alongside my therapy life for the better part of 20 years. And so, you know, when you're looking at heightening your focus and multiplying your productivity, that can be in business, that could be in your job. If you work for someone else, that could be in your personal life, trying to get all the tasks done, right? It can be in a lot of areas. So we're going to talk about that today too. And we wanted to share these words of wisdom with you, which is that sharpened focus does equal increased productivity. So sharpening that focus is always going to help you get more done in less time. That's what productivity is, right? It's helping you do more and not taking forever to do it and not having that to-do list that you just keep pushing to the next day. If you even get a to-do list made, like Charisse had mentioned, some people will say, I don't even have time to make one. So, you know, getting things out of here and getting them actually done. So I'm going to actually pass it over to Charisse, and she is going to share with you the most common culprits that get in our way.
So yes, thank you. The most common culprits, as most of you have probably already seen and experienced, but I'm going to go through these because sometimes we don't realize these are culprits. Number one, too many shiny objects causing distractions throughout the day. And like Jodie said, it doesn't have to be something pretty. It can be really anything that's going to throw you off track. And I actually call it ADBD, attention deficit bling disorder. And that bling does not necessarily have to be something pretty or glittery, but it is something that will catch my attention and throw me off track, causing me to lose my place. And I don't know about you guys, but when I go back to that place, I have to figure out where I was, what I was saying, and get myself back into that mode. And I think it's Jodie that says, the research that it takes 5 to 10 minutes to get back on track every time you have a distraction. So when the kids walk in, when the dogs need something, the fur babies are, needing what they're needing, or the phone rings, or the notifications, or whatever the thing is that draws your distraction, it is stealing your time. It is stealing away your focus. Next, we have uncertainty around your plan of action, causing you to second guess yourself. I have to say, I've been in all of these boats. So if you're identifying with any or all of these, you are not alone. This is why we have this put together, this whole program put together. I remember in my previous career wanting to grow, but not sure of the plan I should take. So I would look at the next thing, which is being overwhelmed by so many ideas that you don't know where to start, and allowing all of those ideas to cause me to second guess. So I would spend time going around, as we mentioned a while ago, going around that same hill, so to speak. Should I do this? Oh, I don't know if I should have done that. When that happens, again, you are losing focus. You're giving time away that is not giving you any value. So it is the uncertainty of the action. And what we want to do is help you create and strengthen and sharpen your focus so that your plans of action are solid, that you know exactly what you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and you know where it's going to take you. So second guessing doesn't become an option, so that you don't fall into the trap of being overwhelmed by so many ideas. Because, you know, I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that doesn't mean we're not going to think, oh man, maybe that's going to work faster. Maybe I should try that over there. It worked really fast for her. So when those things come across our brain, we pause and allow ourselves to become overwhelmed. So that's another culprit. Next is trying to do everything with a lack of clear boundaries. Now, this is something specifically I remember having to learn. I have 4 sons. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 18 years. So my youngest one has just turned 19 this month. So that tells you I started with little children, not to mention our fur babies. At the time, we just had one. Our fur babies, a husband, other life going on, and all the things that a family gets involved in. Without boundaries, nothing will ever get done. You know, it's those days where you have in mind what you want to do, and you wake up that day, and by that night, you don't know what got done. Nothing on your list got done, but the whole day is over and you're exhausted and you can't mark anything off your list. That's what happens when there are no clear boundaries. Well, we're going to help you figure out those boundaries, and we're going to help you understand why they are so important, not just for you. Because when your family members or other ones around you that you see you sticking to your boundaries, sticking to the belief in yourself and the respect you have for yourself to keep those boundaries in place, they start learning how to do that. It becomes an example. It becomes an example. So there's so much about boundaries that is not just about focus, but how it serves and allows other people to grow when they see your example of setting boundaries. Being out of alignment with your priorities and values. This is so important because when you are trying to force a plan or a process that doesn't fit your values, you are going to struggle. You're going to second guess. You're going to meditate on Netflix, if you know what I mean by that, instead of working in your strengths and in the area that you're focused on. Whenever you are out of alignment, it causes internal questioning. It causes internal questioning that keeps you in a fog, and it doesn't allow you to be in the focused area that you want to be in. And it challenges your values, and that's not where we want to be. We want you to learn how to create your focus with harmony, in alignment with your priorities and your values. And there are more culprits, but the last one we're going to talk about tonight is lack of clarity in your vision, so your focus is foggy. When we don't know exactly what we want, when we don't know where we're going, and sometimes when we don't know why we're going there, we don't know what is important about that vision, or maybe someone else planted that vision and it's not truly yours, that can create fogginess. That can keep you from being focused. It can cause you to question what you're doing. So those are our culprits. And here is one tip that we're going to share. We're going to share tonight. Let me get the pictures. The time it takes to build your strategies around focus will save you more time in the long run. So important to understand that we have to take this time. It's just like self-care. This is part of self-care. When you take the time to allow yourself to rest, you are better at what you're doing the next day. It's the same concept. When you take the time and allow yourself to build your strategies, to figure out your boundaries, to work on your focus, you're going to save time, you're going to find time, and you're actually going to end up having extra time in the long run. Jodie?
Oh, absolutely, Charisse. Absolutely. Self-care is not just bubble baths, right? It is about really taking that time to build those strategies. And so here's how you can set yourself up for success. Okay. First of all, turn off the notifications, right? Turn off all those little bright, shiny objects that keep popping up all of the time and really control what you can. Focus on what you can control. And one of those things is the screens, right? We can choose what pops up. Now, for example, when I'm working, I don't have any notifications set up to pop up on my computer, because otherwise I'd be sitting here with you all and I'd constantly have little boxes popping up and little noises going off, and it would be completely distracting, right? So really turning those off, making sure that everything is on your phone. I take my phone, it's upside down and it is away. I'm not having all those notifications coming up where I'm constantly looking over. Like Charisse had mentioned earlier, we have an average of about 3 distractions in an hour, and it takes us 10 minutes to get back on track after each distraction. And honestly, it could be a lot more if you're talking about notifications, right? But if you're being caught off track 30 minutes out of every single hour of your day, what is that costing you? In an 8-hour workday, for example, that's costing you 4 hours. That's half of the time that you're distracted and trying to get back on track. And so it's really important to learn to turn those things off that aren't important. There are so many amazing parts of technology now that can help you to be able to turn off all the things that you're not working on at that moment and to only have emergencies come through. So there's ways to actually do that, to where it's only certain people, only certain things. And like Charisse had mentioned, boundaries, right? Have those boundaries for yourself. Learn how to turn it off, but it's okay sometimes to turn it on. It is okay sometimes to meditate with Netflix, but like Charisse said, it's maybe not the best time to do it when you're trying to do something else, right? She's absolutely 100% correct on that. Like, it can be addicting, it can pull you in. And so we need to make sure that we are having some boundaries around the screens. Don't respond immediately though, right? When you do get a notification, I had someone, just an example, happened to me today. I had someone who, by the way, it was not an emergency. They apparently thought it was, because they left me 2 voicemails. It was somebody who just needed some information on some paperwork that wasn't really time sensitive. It wasn't an emergency. I wasn't really that worried about it as much as they seemed to be, but I was working. And so I said no. I saw it, but I didn't have time to call back. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna call back when I'm done working. When I have a break before this meeting, I will call back. And it wasn't a big deal and it got done quickly. But I had those boundaries around the time and I did not respond right away. I did not drop everything for their perceived emergency when it really wasn't. No one was bleeding. There wasn't a fire alarm going off. It was okay for an hour, right? They could wait. So know that you can wait to respond. And if you feel like you need to, just write it down so that it's somewhere so you don't forget. It's okay to do that. Write it down for the next time you have a moment to do that. Finish focusing on what you're doing. The next is, do not keep it all in your head. Put it on paper. Okay, make a to-do list, especially before you go to sleep. How many times have you stayed up just thinking about all the things you have to do tomorrow or all the things that haven't gotten done, right? So make that to-do list, do kind of that daily brain dump where you just take all of it and you put it down on paper, and then you figure out what actually needs to get done and then create a plan of action from that. right? Figure out what is time sensitive, what needs to get done tomorrow, what needs to get done first. Create that plan so you can prioritize that list and say, okay, this needs to happen by this time. This needs to happen sometime by the end of the day. This is what needs to happen by the end of the week, for example. Really take that list and create the plan so you're not just flying by the seat of your pants. So many times, again, we keep it all in our head and then we're like, I have so much to do. And then you get to the end of the day and you maybe ticked off a couple things on the to-do list, but they were low priority items and the important things still didn't get done and they got pushed to the next day, and they keep getting pushed because a lot of times we tend to do the things naturally that are easiest for us first, and then the most important things never get around to it, right? So really important to make sure that you have a plan that then you can execute. And then if only 2 or 3 things on the list get done, they're actually the important things that you needed to focus on. And then those little things that maybe could wait until the next day are the things that are left. So remember, if they're not written down, they're just dreams, right? They're like, I wish someday I'll get this done, right? It's just wishing, it's just dreaming. But when you write things down, it sets off a chain of events that can change your life. And it really does change things in your brain as well. When you are writing things down, it's visual. You're seeing it be written, right? You're moving. So you've got that kinesthetic piece in there. So it cements it in your mind when you write it down. And then you also are hearing yourself and your thoughts getting put down on that paper. So it really is a great approach to always write things down so that they don't get lost, right? They don't get lost in the million things that are coming at us that we're being inundated with on a daily basis on all of these screens. Everything's going to get lost. You got to write it down so it will stick. All right, Charisse, tell us how we're going to increase this productivity.
Well, and I was going to say too, it's 80%. 80% of what you write down will come to fruition. So that just tells you again how important it is to put things on paper. And it's not just for, like Jodie said, it's not just for the sake of it being on the paper, but it is the action of writing it. It is the process of your brain seeing it on the paper. There's so much more to it. And that's why the statistic is 80% of what you write down comes to fruition. So how do we make this happen? How do we increase focus to increase our productivity? Now, so I'm going to give you some really quick tips, and we're going to start with number 1. Know your goal. I talked about this earlier. Know where you're going and why do you want to get there? What is the importance of it? Who else is it important to? Is it truly your vision? That's so important. I've seen a lot of situations where individuals are taking on other people's goals or other people's visions, and that will keep you in a place of unfocused or being just confused because you don't have that connection of it being your true goal. So know what it is that you want, why it's important, what it will mean to you and your loved ones when that goal is accomplished. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to sit down and identify anything that could be an obstacle and get in your way. What I've done in the past is I look at what are the things that have caused me to get derailed before. You know, it could be the notifications. It could be realizing that if I don't turn my notifications off, that I lose so much focus and get distracted so much during the day that I don't get the things done within the time frame that I need them done. Or it could be, you know, if you have children, I didn't set up childcare. I just assumed that, for example, my spouse would be available. And if that doesn't happen, there's no backup plan. You want to think of the things that have derailed you or caused you to lose focus and Create a plan of action with small wins at strategic points. That includes creating plans with options, meaning you have a backup plan. Identify the things that derailed you before, figure out how to remove those obstacles, or create an option, an alternative, or a backup plan. And make sure that you have strategic wins along the way. And this is something I've struggled with. Any of you who know me well know that's something I've struggled with, is celebrating wins of really any size. And it is so important, because when you allow yourself to celebrate those wins, you are giving yourself more time to move up. You're giving yourself more availability to grow. You're not just skimming over the success. You want to acknowledge the success. That is so important, really, to increasing your focus and your productivity, because, like I said, it allows you to understand what you've accomplished, and it gives you more room to grow and accomplish more. So, create a plan of action with small wins at strategic points. We've talked about this, number 4. Prioritize the most important steps first, then that are in alignment with your values. Prioritize the most important steps first. Just like Jodie was saying, you may not get everything done on that list, but if you've prioritized the most important things, the big rocks, you can get those done if you can't get them all done. So you still have made a significant dent in your list or in your plan of action when you prioritize. You know, there's the analogy or the actual activity of seeing someone with a glass vase or a glass bottle, and they have a certain amount of sand and then all these different size rocks from big to little, and they fill that glass with all the little pebbles and all the little bits of sand, and then they put the rocks in and they don't fit. But when they reverse that and they put the big rocks in first, then they pour the sand and the little pebbles, they fit all around the other big items that are in that jar, and they fit. It is the most wonderful analogy, the most wonderful visual, rather, of prioritizing the most important steps and keeping them in alignment with your values. And then number 5, setting concrete boundaries to protect your goals, focus, and plan. Setting concrete boundaries is a big deal to me, again, because when I started, I had little ones, and I had little ones that didn't understand what boundaries were. And I talk about, you know, all of my kids are so different. And I talk about my second son, who was like a super bouncy ball against guardrails. And I look at boundaries like guardrails. They keep me on the path to the direction where I'm going. They keep me on the road. And we have to set up those guardrails or those boundaries for other people to respect what we're doing. So when I set those boundaries up for my kids, so I set those boundaries up for Zane, he was a super bouncy ball, and he would just bounce back and forth like crazy against those guardrails. My first son, Zachary, he would go 6 months, and then he'd hit the guardrail and come back. And then he'd go 6 months, and then he'd hit the guardrail and come back. They had to know where it was safe. And they had to be able to grow within the boundaries of that safe space. And that is exactly what you're doing when you are creating concrete boundaries for yourself. You are growing within that safe space, and you are requiring and teaching other people how to treat you, which teaches them self-respect, because they are watching you have self-respect. And like I said already, it is so much more than just the boundary itself. Creating concrete boundaries it's so multifaceted in how it affects you and so many other people around you, because it really is such a gift that you can give someone else, even though they might not know it. It is a gift you can give someone else, and it is a gift that you're giving yourself. So those are 5 steps in just the beginning, a little snippet of how to increase focus and productivity. Jodie?
Thank you so much, Charisse. Those were amazing. And just to kind of circle back to writing things down, I would really encourage everyone who's watching to write all of this down, to really write down what those goals are, where you're going, why you want to go there, right? And really write down that process of what are those obstacles so that you can create a plan ahead of time, right? When you are looking at those, it's instead of reacting to that distraction like we normally do, you can then plan ahead for it so you know how you want to respond to that distraction when it comes up. And that takes you out of that emotional place and more into that logical place where you can really look at something and say, okay, this is what it is. This is how I'm going to respond to it. This is how I'm going to handle that, right? And then really having those small strategic wins. Like Charisse said, we've all gone through this, right? It's hard sometimes for us. It's a challenge as women to really celebrate ourselves, to reward ourselves for things that we feel like we should be doing, right? And so giving yourself those checkpoints, those little strategic places where you say, you know what, this is what I've accomplished. And you give yourself a reward. You really look at those things and you see what you've actually done. Sometimes we're so focused on that big picture and we don't break it down into smaller chunks. And so until and unless we actually reach that big goal, we don't acknowledge ourselves for what we actually have done. And then what happens is we get to that big goal and it doesn't feel as good as we thought it was going to. We don't even celebrate that most of the time. We just set the next one. And so really making sure that you give yourself those wins, that's so motivating. And we talk a lot about boundaries and values. That is something that Charisse and I definitely have in common as priorities for us, and that we really work with our clients around, really knowing what those values are is so important. Being able to identify those and being able to learn to set those boundaries. You know, there's not a book of life that tells you how to set boundaries and how to find your purpose and find your why and all of these things. And so if you weren't taught that, like Charisse was saying, she taught that to her children. I love that story about her son and the guardrails. And, you know, she was there to teach him. But you know what? Not everybody was taught that. And I know Charisse had to figure that out for herself. You know, she had to find role models as an adult and kind of navigate those waters. And a lot of us are in that position of having to kind of figure it out now. And so that is why we actually did create a course all about this topic, right? And so I'm going to let Charisse take it away with that and really share with you what this next step is for you. Because today we've gone through from, you know, how to identify some of those distractions and some tips on increasing your focus and productivity. But there is a next step that we want to share with all of you.
That's absolutely right. Thank you, Jodie. I love your take on it, on things. That's why we work so well together. It's because she's so brilliant. And I want you to understand this is the tip of the iceberg. What we're talking about today, it's so important and it's so valuable, but we want to go deeper with you. We want to take you to a course, a 5-week course that will go so much more in depth about all the things we've covered tonight and more. It is a 5-week course, but it is only one day of those weeks. So it's 5 days. And it starts in November. What we will cover, we will analyze your distractions. We will help figure out what they are, because sometimes we can't even name them. We just know because we're in such a foggy, unfocused place. We can't even see our way out. And that's what we'll do, is step in and analyze and help you figure out your distractions. We will prioritize and learn to compartmentalize. And we'll do that in a way that is so unique, it's so brilliant, and it will completely help you see how to keep things in alignment with your priorities. We'll work on setting clear boundaries, knowing where to draw the line, knowing how to keep them set, and knowing how to deal with situations when people don't want to respect those boundaries. We'll cover all those things because sometimes, that's one of the things, the traps we fall into as women is we want to accommodate. We want to take care of everybody. We want to be there. And so sometimes we will allow our boundaries to disappear so that we can accommodate someone else. And in the long run, that's not helping either one. So we'll help you figure that out. We'll also help you create what we call power hours that will give you so much more opportunity and time to figure out your action plans. And then we will celebrate your wins. So it is a 5-week course that will dive so much deeper, and you will come out the other side with a tool chest, a toolkit that you can pull out any tool that you need and take with you to work on and increase and strengthen and sharpen your focus so that your productivity is increasing on a regular basis versus being stagnant or diminishing. We don't want that. So we want to take you to that next step. And it just seems like with so much going on and so many things that have been happening over the last 18 months-ish, that it seems like focus is just diminishing left and right. It is, again, one of the reasons we started this program, because we were both hearing this from multiple clients, not just a few, but multiple people struggling in this area. So that's what this course is all about. I'm going to let Jodie talk a little bit more about our bonuses.
Yes, we have so many amazing things planned for everyone who joins us. So we're going to go through all of those things in those 5 weeks, like Charisse had mentioned, but know that it's not just going to be live. You're going to have a replay as well. Like Charisse said, it's going to be once a week. It's going to be each Monday evening in the month of November, but it's going to be an hour of your time. So think about that, 5 hours, right? 5 hours. And we said earlier that every bit of time that you take to really build your strategies around focus is going to save you so much in the long run. So you can be there live with us, right? Or you can also have access to our learning portal where you can watch all the replays, and they are going to be available to you during the whole course and after, so that you can go back, you can revisit those lessons. You're also going to have Voxer support. Voxer is like a walkie-talkie type of an app where you can leave text or voice messages for someone. If you're not familiar with that, super easy, free app where you can leave a message for us and we can respond to you throughout the entire 5 weeks. You're also going to have the opportunity to have a 30-minute, we call it a 2-on-1 call because it's not 1-to-1. You get both Charisse and I, you get 2 coaches in one call so that you can really work on any of these areas that you would like to specifically. We can help you tackle that and process through it and help you kind of create more individualized and personalized strategies. And then the celebration. So Charisse mentioned we're going to be celebrating your wins, but it's actually 4 weeks of instruction and implementation. So we're going to be teaching you and you're going to be putting this into practice. But then that last hour together, that last class in the course is actually not a class, it's a celebration. So we're going to really teach you how to celebrate yourself, and we're going to celebrate you and reward you as well for your accomplishments of going through this course together. Because I don't know about all of you, but I probably have hundreds of random free things and stuff that I have signed up for and little things. And you know what? Some of them I never even went back to. It's like you signed up for stuff and then you never actually do it, or you do half of it, you open it once. We're going to celebrate you for really sharpening and honing in that focus, for learning these tools and systems and strategies that are going to support you in the long run. Right? This is not something that you're just going to look at once and say, oh my gosh, it's the same thing I keep saying all the time, or, I just don't have time for that. This is going to be something that is going to be life-changing, and it's really going to help you to grow as a person, personally and professionally. We are going to really dive in and talk about those things that we mentioned earlier, even more in depth. And if you decide that you love working with us after that, and you want to have continued support and accountability and access to us, we do have another program that you can move into after the course for more long-term support, and you will get a huge discount on that program if you join us for the course. It is a prerequisite to doing that, to working with both of us more long-term and in a more one-on-one basis. And so we definitely want to make sure that you go through these foundational pieces first. Now, the investment for this is $597, but it is so much less than the cost to you of continuing the way you have been operating, right? Think about that. Think about how much time and how much money is it costing you to not be able to hone in your focus, to not be able to get those things done that you have been meaning to do, right? That things in your business, the things in your life, it's like being able to do these things, to eliminate the distractions, to have clarity on your values, your boundaries, and your plan, right? Learning how to set the boundaries, learning what your values are, and are you prioritizing them properly right now? Or are you saying that things are really important to you, but you're not actually acting like that in your life? Sometimes we need to have clarity around that, to know what our next step is, right? And to learn how to reward yourself. Because again, that is a highly undervalued thing that is so underrated. So underrated. It is so important for us to keep our motivation up, to reward ourselves, and to not just have the external rewards, because you know what, those are short term, and those can really keep us motivated for a little bit, but how to reward yourself from the inside, I think, is really important as well. Charisse?
Yes, I love that. I love that you brought up the point, what is it costing you to stay where you are? What is it costing you to stay in a place of confusion? Or I can vividly remember the overwhelmed feeling that crushed my spirit when I would see all these wonderful ideas and not know which way to go. And it was crushing, and it kept me from moving forward. And we're offering you the keys to get out of that. That is one of the things, of all the things we're doing, all the tools in this tool chest. For me, I think that and the boundaries probably are just so powerful, because so many times we fall into that trap of being overwhelmed because we are bombarded by so many beautiful, wonderful, great ideas or wonderful distractions of other ideas, and we freeze. And we stay frozen, and we stay in that place month after month that turns into year after year. And not only does that affect our income, for me, it started to affect my confidence, because I knew I wasn't getting out of the confusion. I wasn't getting out of the fog. And this is an opportunity for you to get out of the fog. And again, I love that, to just consider, what is it costing you right now to be where you're at and not growing? And how would you look at that if, 6 months from now, you were in the same place? What would that be costing you? So Just to remind you, like we said, it starts on November 1st. Right now, you can get registered for the $597. The doors are going to close on Friday, October the 29th. But guess what? The first 5 people who register get an additional 30-minute call with me and Jodie. So the first 5 people, as soon as this is complete, the first 5 people will get an additional 30-minute call bonus with me and Jodie. But like I said, the doors close on October the 29th. You've got time. We'd love to know here in just a little bit. We're going to ask what questions you might have, but just consider the ramifications this can have on your life. It is long term. If you knew, you would have the tools to not only get clear, set boundaries, put your action plan in place, and know exactly what you were doing and why you were doing it, and it aligned with your priorities, and you could get there quicker than you've ever imagined. What would that be worth to you? What would that be worth to your family? I would venture to say it would be worth a lot more than $597. It would be worth a lot more than that. So I think we are going to go now and take questions.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We're going to go ahead and pop the link to register into the chat, and
Jodie,
we will. Oh, I lost Charisse. Did you guys lose Charisse? Okay, you're all nodding. Okay, good. We lost Charisse. That's okay. So
here I am.
There she is. She's here. Yay! I'm so glad you're back. So yes, please feel free in the chat to pop any questions that you have, or you can unmute and come up if you have questions about anything that we shared, including the course, but anything about the masterclass as well that we shared with you. We would love to help answer any of those questions. And we happen to have 2 ladies with us. They don't know that I was going to say this, and neither does Charisse, but we have 2 ladies with us who actually have gone through the course with us, have worked with Charisse and I in the past. And so if they would like to share anything, they are more than welcome to do that as well.
Just remember, everybody's muted. So if you do want to come up and ask a question, be sure to unmute yourself. Or if our 2 friends who have been in the program before would like to say something, remember you're muted.
Okay, I'm going to try to get through this without coughing. But I'm one of the people that Jodie and Charisse are talking about. And I've gone through the course and have worked with both Jodie and Charisse personally and privately and in groups before. And I highly recommend the course. I actually have been kind of going back and rewatching some of it because I missed some of it because of scheduling stuff, and watching replays right after they happen is not always the best way to watch them. Sometimes it's better to wait a while and go back and watch. And I've been picking up different things each time I watch the replays. So I highly recommend this course. It has made a huge difference in how I run my business, how I relate to people, and how I set boundaries. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I love that. I love that, Jill. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. And Jodie and I have both seen a huge difference as well. It's powerful.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love that you said, Jill, that you like watching those replays. I'm the same way. I feel like when you watch them again, you absorb something new each time, like you had mentioned. And also sometimes you're in a different place or you're dealing with some different challenges. And so regardless of what those are, the great thing about this is that we really are all about tailoring the strategies to you as individuals. I think that's really important to mention because we all do have very different lives and we have different puzzle pieces, right, that fit together in our lives. And so one strategy for focus isn't always going to work for every single person. And I think that's why so many of us feel like we've tried all the things in the past and nothing has worked. Because somebody else will tell you, like, this is my formula for success. This is how I did it. And then you try to fit that, square peg into a round hole of your life, and it just doesn't work. And you get so frustrated and you feel defeated. And so know that, we are in this process of working with you, going to be helping to tailor and customize things specifically for you. So we teach you strategies to figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely.
I also did this course already with Jodie and Charisse, and it really helped me learn more about what my boundaries need to be with people. And I was actually able to set boundaries in my life, not just in my business, but in my other job life as well, and personal life. So I highly recommend the course.
Oh, Kat, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. I can tell Charisse wants to share too. She was
Yes. I know I was going to say I could speak for Jodie too. We are that just means the world. That's everything. That is everything right there, is hearing how you've grown and what you've taken away from the course. That means the world to us. I'm so proud of you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or any aha moments, any feedback they'd like to give? We will give you all a minute to do that. Please know that you will be getting the replay for this as well. So by registering and for being here, you're going to get the replay of this so you can watch it back. You can take screenshots of slides and you can really start this process for yourself. And so feel free also to reply to that email if you think of other questions or you have other feedback that you'd like to give us. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. Again, reach out to us with any questions you may have. And if you're watching this on the replay, same, take the time, watch the video, watch the replay, and let us know what questions you have.
Absolutely. We know that time is our most precious commodity, and you chose to spend this hour with us. So we want to say thank you. We want to respect that time. Yes. And if anyone does want to stay on afterwards and ask us any questions, you are welcome to. We just want to say thank you again. Take care and have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks.